Minecraft, the game of creativity, the childhood you'll never get back, and the GOAT of all video games. Hi, Original here, and today we'll be looking over the more destructive side of Minecraft, explosions. There are a variety of explosions in Minecraft, from TNT to beds in the nether to the infamous creeper, and we'll try to tackle some of the science behind them. Just a side note, I've been debating on doing a survival let's play, especially with the new update that came out. It would be on Java Edition, and I have some projects in mind, and I think it would be cool to have these video game talk videos and some actual gameplay. And let me know if that's something you guys would like to see. Anyways, back on track. Let's start off with what is an explosion. An explosion is basically a large amount of energy that is released into a greater volume than its own over a small amount of time. There are two main types of explosions: detonations and deflagrations. Detonations are explosions that release their energy very quickly in supersonic blast waves. Deflagrations have slower reaction time and have subsonic speeds in their explosions. Within these, we have different categories of explosions. We have natural explosions, such as volcanic eruptions, chemical explosions, which are caused by high energy materials such as gunpowder, nuclear explosions that mainly occur due to nuclear fission or fusion, and electrical explosions that are caused by extremely high currents over an electrical arc, causing a sudden voltage outburst. Considering that Minecraft explosions fit the criteria for chemical types, we will be diving deeper into this. Most chemical explosions start due to high amounts of heat or pressure on the material, which acts as a spark needed for anything to occur. Dealing with these kinds of explosives is very dangerous and must be proceeded with caution, especially back in the olden days. Lower amounts of heat and pressure used to be able to set the materials off in a blaze of glory, but thanks to technology advancement, explosives such as TNT and C4 have a higher threshold in order to activate, and our methods of acquiring these high requirements have only gotten better to make it easier to set off the material with our methods, but harder for any kind of accidental incidents. Looking at the game, the Minecraft TNT is made with gunpowder, which is not how real TNT is actually created. Gunpowder is actually a low-level explosive, and it fits in the deflagration type. It is good for shooting out projectiles such as bullets, however you can tell how weak it is because a high explosive like TNT would blow up the entire gun and not just the bullet. In addition, Minecraft TNT actually has more similar traits to the real-life TNT or trinitrotoluene. It is a detonation type like its real-life counterpart, since it has a fast reaction sending a shockwave and is rather insensitive. TNT specifically needs a form of heat, which explains why the TNT is set off by a flint and steel in the game. However, redstone also activates the TNT, so redstone must produce some type of heat as well. Its insensitivity is shown by how Steve is able to carry this around with no fear of it exploding in his inventory or in his hand. Now let's try to get into the physics of our Minecraft TNT. Once an explosion goes off, the TNT is programmed to have a large amount of rays shot away from the central point of the block. Each ray is assigned a certain random number from a given range. As a ray goes through a block, whether it's a block of air or a regular block, every 0.3 meters, its number is reduced by the amount the block is assigned. If the ray's value is greater and has leftover amount, then the block explodes, if it's not air, and the ray continues. If the ray's value is smaller than the blocks, then the ray stops. For example, let's say a ray is given the value of 50. There are two wooden blocks in its path, both valuing 30. Also, the air is valued at 5. The first 0.3 meters, the ray loses 30, but since it still has 20 units remaining, the wood block explodes and the ray continues. The next 0.3 meters, the ray loses 10, since it goes through air twice. Finally, once it reaches the other wood block in the next 0.3 meters, it has a value less than the required 30 to destroy the block, so the ray stops. This is interesting, as in real life, energy waves do get weaker as they go through materials. Imagine knocking on a regular door. You'll hear the sound wave since it is rather thin, but try to knock on the concrete wall and you'll have a hard time hearing it on the other side, as the wave thins out faster due to the concrete's higher density. One interesting result I witnessed while experimenting with the TNT mechanics is if a block is completely covered in other blocks, it has a further range in its area of effect. However, if it's not covered in its immediate vicinity, then its exploding power is stronger and explodes more blocks. The clips I'm showing will demonstrate this. One clip has the TNT covered by strong diamond block and has a possible radius of 6 blocks but is rather weak, while the test with the TNT not covered explodes with a range of about 3 blocks but actually does destroy every block within that range. While the destruction left behind does seem small with holes of having a radius of 3 blocks, we need to remember that each block is a whole meter long. So in reality, the holes are about 19 feet or 6 meters in diameter and are almost 10 feet or 3 meters deep. That's the size of an average bedroom. Pretty decent sized hole, but really after doing some research on explosives, especially the interesting documentary I have in the description below, the experts there were using such a small amount of TNT or C4 and were exploding entire cars and mining fields. And our block is a whole cubic meter big. So is this the right amount of damage for such a large amount of explosives? Let's test this out with some math. I need to get the amount of energy the blast is producing to compare to real life. To find that, I need the force it's putting out, and to find that, I need some kind of acceleration. The test I'll be doing here is similar to what Minecraft forum user YBoth did in his experiment. I'll test out how far a blast of TNT sends my character's body into the air and use the numbers to find everything else. I'll start by finding the distance traveled, and I'll just be using the coordinate system provided by Minecraft and plot my starting and ending points. My ending point here will be the position at the smallest amount of time I can manage with my recording software after the explosion, which would be 0.0625 seconds. From here, I would need to use the distance formula, which is basically using Pythagorean's theorem twice, but in a 3-dimensional space to find how far Steve went. My initial coordinates were 455.582 in the x direction, 4 in the y direction, and 899.971 in the z direction. And my ending coordinates are 456.016 in the x direction, 4.86 in the y direction, and 900.373 in the z direction, which plugging in the numbers, I get 1.0319 meters as my distance. To find my acceleration, I will be using some calculus, but a very simple integration of the formula acceleration equals derivative of velocity with respect to time, to get that my final velocity equals initial velocity plus acceleration times time. I now need my final velocity, which is simple. Divide my distance traveled by the time to get 16.5118 meters per second. And my initial velocity is 0, so we'll cross that out. Now plugging in my time and final velocity and doing some algebra, I get my acceleration equals 264.188 meters per second squared. Almost done. Now to find the force, which is good old FMA. With mass of an average male being 95 kilograms, this gives us a force of 25,900 Newton. Last step. Because this is an explosion, it's best to understand how much energy it's being released. The work or energy of a process equals force times distance, which our final plug-in of numbers gives us 25,898 joules. Side note, it looks similar to our force mainly because we only travel about 1 meter. Alright, so how does this add up to TNT in real life? This may be a shock to some of you. So TNT has a density of 1.654 grams per cubic centimeter. So our cubic meter of TNT would be 1,654 kilograms. 1 kilogram of TNT releases 2,175,000 joules of energy. So that means our block is supposed to release 3,597,450 joules. That is 138,908 times greater than our calculated numbers. You see what I mean? I knew there was something fishy going on. There was no way that our amount of TNT should have been making such a small hole. Anyways guys, now we know the truth behind the puny and weak TNT that Minecraft has to offer. Still a great game of course, but it's always fun to pick out how unrealistic game mechanics can be. I guess if it was real, TNT would just be way too overpowered. Again, let me know if a let's play something you guys would like to see, because it's something I was thinking of doing to go in between these explanations. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope you really enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next original explanation.